Okay, so this is going to be the basic rigging tutorial for how to set up controllers to move and animate the arms. Okay, if you haven't seen the previous tutorial, I recommend you to watch it, but you can start from here if you want. So I'm just going to create a controller. I have just four geometry here with some different colors, and I'm going to create a controller to make this move and rotate how I want. So first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to go here on the menu bar. There is going to be a curved surface tab. I'm just going to use a simple circle for the controllers, and I'm not really going to consider much about the shape of the controllers. You can shape it out later on. Anyway, first thing what I have to do is I'm going to create a controller, and I'm going to move it to whatever I'm going to place it to the axis how this is going to move. So for example, the shoulder area is going to have a rotation axis from maybe around here or maybe at the end of this cube, right? And even the forearm, maybe yeah, the place where I set it up here, the axis here might be a good place to set up for the controller axis. And for the hand, I don't think this is a good place to set up, so maybe between those two, the wrist area is going to be a good place where we have to set up the axis for the controllers. Anyway, so we have created a controller. It's a good habit to name it, but for this tutorial I'm not going to name it because it's going to be a simple tutorial. First thing, if we just move it to the place where we want, for example, if we want this part to be the axis of the rotation of the forearm, we can place it there, and we just easily just select the geometry, the controller, and then hit P to parent it, right? So as soon as I parent it, what happens? It's going to rotate and it's going to move with the controller. The geometry is moving together. However, we want the axis to rotate in this direction. We don't, by facing in this area, we don't want this to rotate like this. So what we have to do here is undo this, Z, hit the Z key on your keyboard, and instead of just setting up like this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a group. And another reason why I'm creating a group is because I don't want those translation and rotation having different numbers than 0. And I explained why we cannot freeze it on the previous tutorial. So if you want to know more about that, you can go back and see the previous tutorial. So first thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this back to 0. The control before I set it back, I have to unparent this. So select this geometry, Shift P, and then select the controller and go set it back to 0, because I'm not going to freeze transformation for the controllers. So select that and then hit Ctrl G to group it. And then instead of moving the controllers, I'm going to move the group here. Yeah. And if I start moving the group, the child of the group, which is going to be the controller, is going to follow the group. We cannot select the group in the viewport. We are just going to select the child, which is going to be the controller. Anyway, go to the top view, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to match up the axis here. By the way, just keep in mind, select the group, move it, and match the axis. And even if you want to rotate it, try to rotate it in that how the geometry is facing. So I created that, and definitely I have to create another one, right? So how many controllers we have for this arm? We have to rotate from here, 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 and the thumb. So there's going to be 4. We need 4 controllers here. So I'm going to duplicate this again, Ctrl D, and maybe I'll set this back rotation to 0, and I'm going to move it and place it around here so that it's going to be the shoulder area. Ctrl D, and maybe this is going to be my maybe you know what, I'm going to just delete this and I'm going to use the group 1, which always have the rotation aiming and at that direction. Control D, and I'm going to move it around here, which is going to be the wrist area, the axis, and then Control D. Finally, this is going to be my last one. So move it to the center of this thumb area. And by the way, you can't just leave it as what I have here, because I recommend to even match up the axis. If my red, which is going to be my x-axis, is uh, 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 aiming to the child direction, like even here, this is going to be the direction for this hand, right? Even this one here, the group 4, right now the blue, which is going to be the z-axis, if facing to this direction, but it's I recommend it to match the direction for every single part. So as you can see, the axis facing to the thumb end of the thumb area. So now I have this. I have everything clear, right? So I have each part, I have groups with the controllers, and I'm going to explain how to connect them in the next tutorial.